The sign? That's it. There it is, all right. All right. Call to order. Please join me in a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. This meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, also known as the Sunshine Law. Notice of the 2026 annual meeting schedule has been provided to the officially designated newspapers, the Township Clerk, posted on the Township website, and available at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex. Meeting application documents and plans have been made available on the Township's website at hillsboroughNewJersey.portal.civicclerk.com at least 10 days in advance of this meeting. Complete application files are available in the Planning and Zoning Department for inspection in accordance with the public meeting notice. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Deb and Mr. Wagner are absent. Mr. Shirachi?
Here.
Mr. Flagg?
Here.
Mr. Radowitz?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Present.
Mayor Payne?
Here.
Vice Chair Peason?
Present.
And Chair Chiarelli?
Here.
Mr. Coyce?
Present.
Ms. Ball?
Here.
Mr. Bernstein?
Here.
Ms. DeRossini?
Here.
And myself and the videographer are here.
All right, thank you. First on the agenda is consideration of meeting minutes of December 11th, 2025.
Eligible members, Mr. Chairman, are Mr. Sirachi, Secretary Radowitz, Mr. Vitale, Deputy Mayor Lapani, Vice Chair Peason, and yourself.
Okay, could I have a motion and a second for approval of the December 11th
Second.
minutes? Who's the,
Oh, I thought you were asking just for a second. I'll make the motion.
it's been that long?
Yeah.
I'm used to asking.
I will second the motion.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Shirachi?
Yes.
Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chair Peason?
Yes.
Chair Chiarelli?
Yes. All right, next is consideration of resolutions. We have Harvard Way, JMJ4 LLC, file 21-PB-09, MSPV, remanded.
Eligible members are Mr. Sirachi, Mr. Peason, and Deputy Mayor Lapani.
Okay. Could I have a motion and a second to approve
So moved,
it?
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, any discussion on it? Roll call?
Mr. Shirachi?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Vice Chair Peason?
Yes.
That was pretty tight. All right, the second resolution is the amended Sunnymead Landfill Redevelopment Area Preliminary Investigation Report, the resolution of recommendation. I think we discussed that at the last meeting. Could I get a motion and a second to approve that?
The eligible members are Mr. Sirachi, Mr. Flagg, Secretary Radowitz, Deputy Mayor Lapani, Mayor Payne, Vice Chair Peason, and the Chairman.
Secretary Radowitz will make that motion.
Payne,
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Shirachi?
Yes.
Mr. Flagg? Yes. Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Vice Chair Peason?
Yes.
Chair Chiarelli?
Yes. We have no planning board business, is that correct? Or do
That
we-
is correct. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. If I could just give the board quick information, and for those following at home, I just would like everyone to know that all of the 2025 minutes have been complete. So we are now, this may be a record, but we're now into 2026.
Okay.
Yep. So just a special thanks. Our staff behind the scenes works really hard, from Deborah in our office to also our recording secretary, Robin. So, they're the ones that make it happen. So
Just keep that locked and loaded for when somebody asks again.
yes.
We're ready. All right, thank you. Any business from the floor for matters that are not on the agenda? So if anybody in the Audience, anybody in attendance has an item they want to discuss with the planning board, please come up now. All right. No takers. All right. Consideration of ordinances. First is ordinance 2026-01, the ordinance amending Chapter 188, Land Use and Development, Article 1, Title, Purpose, Definitions, Section 188-3, Words and Terms Defined, and Article 5, Districts and Standards, Section 188-06, I-1, I-2, I-3 Light Industrial Districts of the Code of Township of Hillsborough, Somerset County, New Jersey. Mr. Coyce, do you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have issued a memo dated February 4th, 2026. Ordinance 2026-01 amends Chapter 188, Land Use and Development of the Township Code. Specifically, the ordinance revises Article 1, Title, Purpose, Definitions, and Article 5, District and Standards, Section 188-106, governing the I-1, I-2, and I-3 light industrial districts. The ordinance adds a definition for small-scale storage and distribution, establishes limitations on the size and operational characteristics of such uses, permits the use as a principal permitted use within the applicable industrial district, clarifies permitted manufacturing and assembly uses conducted entirely within enclosed buildings, establishes a maximum load dock ratio, and includes provisions addressing non-conforming structures. As reflected in the ordinance recitals, these amendments follow prior zoning actions affecting warehousing and distribution uses within the township's industrial districts, and a negotiated settlement intended to address the conforming status of certain existing industrial structures. From a master plan perspective, the proposed ordinance is generally consistent with the township master plan in that it reinforces the intended function of the township's I-1, I-2, and I-3 light industrial district by permitting a range of industrial and employment generating uses while establishing clear operational and dimensional standards. The ordinance provides additional clarity regarding the scale and intensity of storage and distribution activities, limits truck and loading impacts through defined performance standards, and maintains compatibility with surrounding land uses. These provisions are consistent with the master plan's land use and economic development objectives of supporting viable industrial uses, promoting reinvestment in existing industrial properties, and ensuring the development standards appropriately manage impacts associated with industrial activity. These provisions are also consistent with the master plan's long-standing objective of ensuring that the scale and intensity of development is appropriate to its context and that non-residential uses are designed and operated in a manner that minimizes adverse impacts on surrounding residential neighborhoods. And just for the board to be advised that the Township Committee has this scheduled for a public hearing and possible adoption at its February 24th, 2026 meeting.
Any questions from the dais on this ordinance?
Mr. Coyce, which, is this only applicable to which one? I-2?
To the I-1, the I-2, and the I-3.
Do you have a map to show where those are?
I do not have the one with me.
Can you describe?
It's approximately 8 different locations throughout the town, most notably along the CSX line. The zone also exists in different places on Route 206 towards the north by Camplain Road. Oh, look at this technology. Oh, we do, but we would put a map up, but if we can't use more than one computer tonight, unfortunately, because of the technology. So the I-3 is also along 206 across from Duke Farms. There's an I-2 district on Duke's Parkway East. There is an I-1 along Camp Lane Road and a portion of 206. There is also, so there's the I-2 that's in between, well, mostly the one CSX line. And then towards Sunnymead, is that Sunnymead? Yeah. There's an I-1 on Sunnymead and also on Weston Road. Oh, and can you go up? Thank you. And then there's an I-1 district over by Flagtown, like past the bridge over there. And I believe that's all the locations.
About the Larkin self-storage that
It's
So
LI
it
zone, right?
doesn't impact that one because that's the LI.
lodges.
Unfortunately, the same name, but different letters in the front. So that one's the LI. It does not impact the LI.
Correct.
Was the LI already modified?
The LI was already modified,
such-
and it's a different definition. It's a little higher intensity compared to this one.
Okay.
But it was for smaller size.
This is
Facility,
yes, this is smaller scale than what would or is allowed in the LI, and because the I-1, I-2, I-3 is so sort of sporadic throughout the town and is surrounded by residential in many cases, that's the reason why we were very careful in terms of regulating the intensity in different ways, you know, from loading docks to size and all those things.
Is there additional language going in? Because I'm just looking at the ordinance. So we put in a definition for the small scale storage and distribution, and then we added in, I guess, the manufacturing, processing, finishing, and assembly of products within an enclosed building. That, they're not too related. Is that what's supposed to be happening in the small scale storage and distribution?
So
Or is it two separate permitted uses?
They're two separate permitted uses.
Okay.
The clarification on the manufacturing was more, you know, cleaning up some inconsistency that was in the district. There was action taken by the township committee in a different era where in this district, there used to be a reference to another zone allowing all uses. And for those of you that have been on the board for a while, when there was some cleaning up and kind of changing where the utility uses, it was basically taken out. So we had studied that, and we see that there's a lot of those types of uses. A lot of things are being made there, like G&J Steel, for example, that this board has seen. So that was more of a cleaning up. It was technically part of the litigation settlement, but it was something that we had recommended.
Okay. So I mean, I know with the small scale storage distribution definition, we just limit the size of the building and then we max out or how many space or how many loading docks they're allowed to have. Was there any consideration to put in limitations on hours or anything along those lines? Just to get a little bit more some specifics in here. And again, I wasn't privy to the negotiations or the court proceedings, but there's a lot of qualitative, saying, you know, infrequent truck traffic, low daily trip generation, but without any perhaps quantitative.
There's no limitations in terms of hours, as that's not something we have consistently or have within the ordinance. So we didn't find it, we didn't give it consideration just because that's not something you would typically find in the definitions. Usually it's been this board's practice or even the Board of Adjustments practice when you have a development application. That's when those considerations are taken. I'm not aware of any current rule that the township has on prohibition of hours. So my understanding is that, you know, this is typically how it's been done is on the site plan when the approval happens. Those are the hours that are on there when this board or the Board of Adjustment approves it, and then those are the governing hours going forward. But it has not been our practice to put that in any sort of definition or any restriction within the land use code.
Okay. Because it says limited frequency of pickup and delivery, so I didn't know if, that might be appropriate to put in some type of limit. What is those limited frequencies? I'm just going by experience of what we went through with the infamous W applications.
Well, we believe that the limits that have been put on there in terms of the docks, the size, and things like that, that those are going to help govern the situation.
Yeah, I would, I mean, that at a spot that 1 per 5,000 square feet and a max size of the standards of 2,500 square feet aren't going to generate much more than your small little box truck deliveries. So, I don't think there'll be a lot of quote-unquote traffic that would need to be governed by this. I think the biggest thing here is that we're limiting the size of the building and the number of loading docks, so they couldn't just blow the whole site up and build something else, right? So I think this is the key here, is that whatever's there can stay in that use, but it can never be destroyed in a large-scale logistic area or whatever be built, which is against our ordinance anyway, but this protects the small ones.
And it's 25,000 square feet or 2,500, I think? Okay.
25,000 square feet.
All right.
Is that consistent with what we have in the LI, right? When we made the change to the LI, there's no limitations on hours? Is that,
Correct.
okay?
And it's different numbers, but the same tools that we use to regulate that were applied in this situation, but just at a smaller scale.
I think to paint the color a little bit more, this was generated by a lawsuit that was from the Larkin one. Somebody jumped on the bandwagon. Turned out they jumped on the bandwagon for the wrong reason. And this is the reason. They jumped on and they had they were doing more manufacturing. They should have gone to the zoning board, or it was not an issue for that lawsuit. So when we explained that to them, it led to this discussion, or this, I believe they dropped the lawsuit, but it led to this cleanup.
Right.
For
No, I can
what- for
understand
their
that.
for what they were doing on site. With Tums bottles, right?
Correct. Just to add a little bit to that, basically, when the warehouse, as a principal permitted use, when that ordinance came about prohibiting it, it didn't impact some of these sites, and specifically the site that was part of this litigation. It didn't impact it because manufacturing was the principal use, and any of the warehousing on that site was all accessory. So when they had applied for a certificate of nonconformity, they were actually denied for it. And then there was a property sale, and there was a new owner now, and then they decided to, litigate to the township. But to be completely honest with you, regardless of the litigation, the way that we approached this was just sound planning in terms of thinking about how this district is different than some of our other industrial districts, most notably the LI. And again, cleaning it up and making sure that it's consistent and has uses there that could bring in ratables, that can have buildings get filled. So we were able to apply that to this. Try to make a difficult situation into a positive is as we did it.
So the litigant was more of a manufacturer, not a existing storage and distribution facility?
Correct. Yeah.
So this is just to help them with their business from a
If,
to have
yeah,
that other as the permitted use, so that they can actually store materials.
Yeah,
and
and to be
distribute.
completely honest, it
Okay.
benefits any of the uses that were made non-conforming, through that original ordinance. So it addresses any sort of situations if someone's able to fit under this new use.
Any other comments or questions based on this discussion? Thank you, Mr. Coyce.
Thank you.
So, motion, ask for a motion and a second to approve. Ordinance 2026-01.
Do we approve, or is it a recommendation for the township committee?
Recommendation for the approval of
Yeah.
and consistent with the master plan.
Oh, so it'll be heard by the township committee.
Right.
We're in between reading 1 and 2.
Okay. So the action is?
The action is to approve to the extent the ordinance is drafted and find that it's consistent with the master plan.
All right. Motion and a second for that.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
We have a second?
Yeah.
The mayor.
Mayor.
Mr. Sirachi?
Yes.
Mr. Flagg?
Yes.
Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Payne?
Yes.
Vice Chair Peason?
Yes.
Chair Chicarelli?
Yes. So we look forward to hearing that at February 26th Township Committee meeting? 24th. All right. All right. Next on the applications, public hearing for PA 206 LLC, file 26-PB-02-INF, Block 199, Lot 63, which is 403 Route 206. The applicant is seeking informal review, proposing a conceptual plan to partially demolish an existing vacant bank structure, to renovate the remaining portion to consist of an approximate 2,250 square feet urgent care facility and a separate standalone 545 square foot 7-brew drive-through coffee shop, which will include a 200 square foot walk-in cooler on the property located in the Township Center District, and the ASD Architectural and Site Design Overlay District. So we have council participating. Mr. Coyce, do you have anything to add before we hear from the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a good time to hear from the applicant. I could reserve my comments. It had issued the
Just to
letter.
clarify what we're hearing, which is this is just an
This is
Oh,
an
that, yes.
informal.
Yeah, and it's a requirement in the ordinance that if you're going to develop in the town center district, that you have to come to the planning board for a concept review. Regardless if what you're proposing ultimately will need the zoning board of adjustment, which in its present form, we are of the opinion that it would. But again, this is essentially informal. This is information to provide to the applicant for their consideration on the next actions that they may take.
And we will actually not be issuing any instructions on this other than our observations and.
You'll be
this is-
giving recommendations and thoughts, but any actions or any comments the board makes are comments and ultimately have no bearing necessarily on the ultimate application, either as to completeness and/or as to any decision by the applicable board, whether it's this one or the zoning board.
All right, thank you.
Oh. Why do we want to do that?
You need to move the mic closer, Cheryl.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. They didn't.
Good evening. My name is Cheryl Lynn Walters. I'm a partner at the law firm of Nemad Davis and Goldstein. We're counsel for PA 206 LLC, co-owner of the property located at 403 Route 206 with another company called AC 206 LLC. Representatives of both are with me this evening. Just want to note for the record, I recently and still am representing Mr. Peason's wife in a land use matter. But since we're here for informal review and the board is not taking any official action, I don't have any concerns about Mr. Peason providing comment or staying on the dais.
We're
So-
going to kick him off anyway, but that's all right.
And for housekeeping purposes, we were asked to clarify the representative's title of the applicant on some of the forms that were submitted with the informal review. So we did send Ms. Paget an electronic copy of those documents today, and this is the paper copy. So I'm going to give that to Ms. Ball. Thank you. All right. So PA 206 LLC is the owner of the property at Block 199, Lot 63, 403 Route 206. And as indicated on your agenda and Mr. Chairman read into the record, the concept plan is for combined use, urgent care, in a reduced version of the existing vacant bank building that's on the site, and the addition of a small building with a storage component for a 7-brew. I'm going to bring up our engineer, our site civil engineer. We have a concept plan that was submitted with the application. And that is on the thumb drive that I handed Ms. Ball, if it's working. Yeah, okay, great, thank you. All right, how do I?
Yes, I pulled up both the files.
And how do I, oh, there they are. Okay, great. So I'm going to zoom out here. Okay. There we go. I can zoom in as needed. All right, so to my right is Mr. Jim Henry. He's going to describe the concept plan and the concept that's being presented to you tonight. Even though it's informal, do you want to swear him in, Mr. Bernstein?
Michael, swear.
Just turn the mic on.
I do. James Henry, Henry, from Dynamic Engineering. Oh, sorry. James Henry from Dynamic Engineering, Henry, based in Lake Como, New Jersey.
Mr. Henry, are you a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional engineer as well as a licensed professional planner.
And would you give the board briefly the benefit of your education and experience in both fields?
Sure. I have a Bachelor's of Science from Rutgers University in Civil Engineering with a minor in Public Planning from the Blaustein School of Planning. I also have a Master's from Rutgers University in Civil Engineering. I'm a senior principal at Dynamic Engineering. I've been employed there for over 20 years. I've testified in front of over 100 boards throughout New Jersey, including this board. What else we got?
All those times that you testified, have you been qualified as an expert in both the field of engineering and professional planning?
Not all the times, because I usually, depending on what I'm needed for, I don't always qualify as a planner. But tonight, I don't mind qualifying for a planner because we can talk about the use itself.
And do your licenses, are they all current and in good standing?
Yes, I'm licensed in New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, as well as Pennsylvania, and both my licenses for engineering and planning are in good standing.
So to the extent necessary, I submit Mr. Henry is an expert in both the fields of engineering and professional planning.
Did you say New Jersey?
Yes.
All right, I must have missed it, I heard.
Sorry, did I skip over that?
You
That's
might have.
probably the
I
most
heard New
important
York,
one.
Connecticut.
I think you said New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, but you
Okay.
Yeah.
went
Thank
pretty
you.
fast.
All right.
Okay, so Mr. Henry, Dynamic Engineering has prepared a conceptual site plan for this project, correct?
Yeah, so we were contracted by the client to take a look at the property overall and try and find some uses that would be compatible with this site. While we do understand that the zoning doesn't permit the drive-through use, the urgent care medical use, which is partially demolishing the existing bank building that's on site and then reutilizing a portion of that building in order to propose approximately 2,250 square foot urgent care where the existing bank footprint is. In addition to that, we understand the zoning that's in place for this use. Is in the town center and reviewing the town center as well as the master plan. We completely understand that there's There was an ordinance change, I think, in 2024, if I'm correct, as far as not permitting restaurants with drive-throughs. We think this is a little bit of a unique circumstance because, while we understand there's a Taco Bell nearby and a McDonald's, this use in particular really only sells coffee. So it's a coffee user. It's not really selling burgers or anything like that. It's just selling drinks and coffee for people who are, driving by, or you can walk up and go to a walk-up window. So it is pedestrian-friendly where you can walk up and, get a coffee, sit down on the outside. And we think it's, in reading the master plan and the goals for the town center, we understand it, wants to be pedestrian-friendly, but also with the understanding, obviously, we're on Route 206, which is definitely a highly traveled highway, trying to meet the two uses, the two goals, trying to make it pedestrian friendly while also understanding we're on a state highway. We try to mend those two things. So we understand that, there is a variance involved here, whereas it looks like the ordinance does not permit it. But this is a little bit unique as far as the use. So just talking about the site itself, the site is the building's going to stay where it is. A part of it, as I mentioned, that there is already a drive-through on there, for the bank. So the bank's drive-through is going to be demolished, and that's on the, the northeasterly side of the building. Right now, when you drive there, it's kind of a weird situation. I just drove there, around the back. You have to kind of go around the back of the building and kind of circulate around. I'm not sure why, but, we think it would work a lot better if there was a kind of a circulation area in front of the building, allowing for like a few parking spaces and really kind of trying to make it more a retail-friendly type of pad for urgent care, and then also provide parking behind the building for like employees or things of that nature. So we provide kind of a dead-end parking area behind the building. Also, we show the trash enclosure, 2 trash enclosures behind the building, which are, they're screened from Route 206, so driving by, you really can't see it. We provide 2-way access on the south side of the building. So if you came in and you wanted to go to the parking area in front, you could come out, go out to the driveway. If you went to the rear parking area, you come back out and go to the front and get back out to 206. In addition, right now, there isn't any access to the Town Center Drive, which, obviously, as you head to the southwest, then brings you to the light. So it allows kind of, from a traffic perspective, allows you to kind of get around to where you need to go. Then there is stacking associated with this. When you look at the stacking, this particular 7 Brew has a few stores that they've opened in New Jersey. I'm representing the landlord, but I've done a few 7 Brews throughout New Jersey, and they have significant stacking requirements, particularly because there aren't that many of them. I'm sure if those of you that remember Chick-fil-A's, Sonic's, when they started coming to the market, they had extreme backups and things like that. Now Sonic's are, they're almost like ghost towns. So, as more of these become open, the stacking doesn't become as prevalent. But what we did was we designed this for, what they're seeing today. So we designed this for like your maximum type situation where you have significant stacking around the outside. And 7 Brew is a little bit unique because the way they operate, they don't have a menu board, so it's not like a typical fast food. They actually have people that walk through the drive-through lane with like little kiosks, and they take your order for your window, and then by the time you come up, they basically just hand you a cup of coffee and you're on your way. So they have a very efficient design. Again, we probably can get into operations a little bit more, but it's not like a typical fast food user. Again, the food offerings is very limited. It's like a muffin. It's the food offering is almost nothing. Whereas this is more of like a coffee shop, and it also does allow, meets the pedestrian need because it does allow for walk-up people, and we can provide a pedestrian path as required. Again, this was kind of a hand sketch that we put together to see how we can meet the 7 Brew requirements. In order to make this kind of financially worth it for our clients, we tried to maintain a portion of the existing bank, and then our client was able to find a tenant for that space. We were able to find urgent care to take that space. So they do have, interested, we know who the 2 users would be for this, AFC Urgent Care, and the other one would be 7 Brew. What we're here today is kind of take the temperature of this board and really kind of, I know this board isn't voting, and also we'd have to go to the Board of Adjustment. But I think we want to take the temperature of the board to find out, is this something that would be entertained? What are your feelings on this? Obviously, the ordinance, I think, in looking at the ordinance, my guess is the ordinance was probably adopted after the Taco Bell got approved, and was like, we don't want a litany of drive-throughs along 206. Whereas this really isn't, more like a traditional, fast food users. Whereas this is more of like a high-end coffee user and a little bit of a unique operation. And then the access is great for this type of use. Obviously we have Route 206 that allows you to have, right in, right out driveways. And then we provide access out the back to Town Center Drive, which would allow the full movement driveway. So we really wouldn't anticipate, all the activity would kind of be in the back of the site. Really, I want to make sure, obviously you have your planners here. We do understand, what they put together, and we understand what the goals of the town are, but we wanted to get feedback on this user.
So Jim, just to demonstrate consistency with what you're saying about the use of the Seven Brew and their limited product availability, can you just describe the two buildings that are shown on the concept plan for the Seven Brew?
Sure. So the front building, there's two buildings in blue. The front building is really the kind of main building. And that building is a prefab. The way they operate, they have like a prefab building where they come in almost like a shipping container. So the landlord basically makes a pad ready. They bring a finished building that they put on the site. It has a prefab kind of overhang area with a little seating area on the outside. Then the blue area behind it is more for refrigeration. So again, it's a prefab refrigeration area to keep a lot of their, storage and things like that. And then there's a sidewalk that runs, basically from the front of the site to the back to allow, I think there's a door in the back and there's a door on the side that allows access into the front building. And then
I'm sorry. And overall, what's the square footage of the primary building, not the storage building?
So the primary building is approximately 545 square feet, so it's extremely small. We do, I've been in front of this board for Apple Montessori, for a lot of other users, and I understand how like a Starbucks and a Dunkin', we do a lot of those as well. This is much smaller than even a Dunkin' Donuts would do. This is like almost half of what a Dunkin' Donuts, most Dunkin' Donuts want like 1,200 square feet, even at the smallest. So this is like a very, very small building, and, the impact is, not as substantial as a typical fast food user.
So we did receive a couple of reports, a fire official memo, a report from Mr. Coyce, and a report from Pannoni's office and the board engineer. And so we had some comments that we received. Can you just kind of walk through what we did with this version of the concept plan that we're showing?
Sure. Let me preface this with this is a very preliminary concept. This was kind of like a hand sketch we put together to just really to kind of get a feel for the layout. We didn't do a full zoning on this, so, I think a number of the comments kind of go into the zoning requirements. We didn't really list that out. We wanted to try and take the temperature of the board first. So the Pannoni letter, I think, goes into, going into sheet 2, goes into the NRCS web soil surveys, just talking about how we'll have to do stormwater, and we understand we'll have to do stormwater. Goes into the connection to Town Drive. It says the office supports the connection to Town Drive. Goes in the appropriate right-of-way, which will, obviously if we need more right-of-way width on either of the sides, we can comply with that. Then as far as the setbacks, the Town Center ordinance requires you to be actually closer to the front. So this situation, we would be utilizing the existing building, so we would be asking for relief for that, being that it's an existing building out there. Screen plantings, obviously, we're going to comply with that. We understand this use. We want to make sure it's buffered. The good part about this type of use, it really peaks around like between 7 and 9 a.m. It doesn't really it stays open to like 10 or so. It's not super late. It's not like a 24-hour use like your typical fast food use at 10 p.m. or so, yeah. So it doesn't stay up, stay open super late. So the hours aren't crazy substantial. But then we could supplement planting, and we're trying to basically make sure there's a distance between the residential uses. There's also no speaker box, so there's no like menu board or anything like that from a noise perspective. And then there was, so that's number 6. Number 7 is just regarding the parking location. It says the parking location be located in the rear yard, whereas there's parking in the front yard. Just from a general retail perspective, while your ordinance does call for parking in the rear, typically you can see with many of the other users, retailers like, even people passing by like to have parking in the front just for convenience. And both of these uses are really kind of a convenience type use. They're pass-by uses, so they're not really uses where they're like generating a ton of traffic. They more are pulling from the traffic that's already on 206. So the convenience is a big part of it, which is why we're asking for parking in front of the building as far as the back, as well as the back. Also, just so we have adequate parking, given the unique circumstances where we're reutilizing the existing building, kind of puts a unique situation as far as the parking layout. And then as far as the loading uses, so the way 7 Brew works is they typically will actually utilize their drive-through during off-peak hour, because again, they have their drive-through lanes, they're over-designed basically. So they would basically utilize the drive-through lane as a loading zone during off-peak hours at the rear of the building. Also, we have a striped area at the dead-end parking area for smaller trucks, such as box trucks and things like that. So we're anticipating mostly box trucks, potentially larger trucks. We have to talk to the 7 Brew as far as what they're willing to use as far as from a loading perspective on this at this particular store. So that's a little bit about the Pannoni letter, and then just going into the Hillsborough letter. So then going to the fire letter. It looks like most of the comments are, adding a Knox box, which you see, is fairly typical. The other thing I think the fire official wanted to know is whether or not a fire truck could circulate, and we did put together a circulation plan,
And that's what you're seeing on the screen.
which is what you're seeing on the
That's
screen.
what you're seeing on the screen right now.
It looks very similar because, again, this was not done in CAD. The circulation was done in CAD, but the sketch wasn't. So you can see the circulation around the bypass lane can be handled by a fire truck. So we want to make sure that the board is aware that, again, this is a very rough sketch, but the way it's designed does allow for a fire truck to basically pass the outside lane.
And we would make sure to accommodate that during hard engineering, correct?
Yes. So just to summarize, again, there's on the right-hand side of the screen where you're looking at it, there's the primary drive-through lane, which is really the one closest to the building. There's another drive-through lane, which is adjacent to that, which probably would only be used during peak hours. And then there's the outside lane, which is a full bypass. So, there's plenty of circulation around the outside of the building. And then obviously we're designing this for your worst-case scenario, given the stacking. Just as for comparison, for instance, I do a lot of Dunkin' Donuts. I've done a lot, over 50 Dunkin' Donuts. So a Dunkin' Donuts, for instance, usually peaks, somewhere around 10 to 11 cars. We're showing a lot of cars here. This is a
Showing
lot.
30 car
A lot
stacking.
of stacking, but, given some of the information that they've done on these initial openings, it kind of does justify this. Now, long-term, I don't know if that will continue as they continue to cannibalize each other. Starbucks, for instance, usually you have closer to a 12-car stack. Now, Starbucks is very slow at operating, and Dunkin' Donuts turns over an order in roughly about 2 minutes. Starbucks is closer to 3 or 4 minutes. It takes a lot more time. So Dunkin' passes through a lot quickly. This user is very similar, where it's a very small menu, and they have a very small building, so they don't have a lot of options. So they also turn over people a lot quickly, very quickly. So.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
And maybe David or Eric can answer. So I know you're coming from the planning board as an informal review, but the relief variance that they're asking for has got to go for the Board of Adjustment. So are they hearing us just to ask questions and they still need to go before the Board of Adjustment to get the variance? Is that what?
Yes.
Are they going from the Board of Adjustment to get their feedback too, or are they just coming here only?
Everything would be before the Board of Adjustment.
I'm saying, you're asking for our input, but I don't know if you were planning on going from the Board of Adjustment too to get their input as an informal.
So
I mean,
you-
that's the board that's going to hear your application ultimately.
I understand, Deputy Mayor Lapani, it's nice to see you, by the way.
Well-
So under the municipal land use law, the zoning board cannot conduct informal review meetings, but your town center ordinance, or your ordinance requires informal review with the planning board for development within the town center. So we're just kind of balancing the two. So any feedback that we get from yourself, the mayor, any other members of your staff that would be here, that would also review the zoning board application, is just valuable feedback for the applicant to take back to take a look at this as we start to enter into hard engineering. And we appreciate any thoughts and comments that you have, even if you're not going to end up sitting on the zoning board and weighing in at that level.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we all understood that we're not actively going to hear the application when it should come forward, right?
So I think,
So, yeah, so in summary, I think this is a good use, whereas it balances a lot of, I think, what, the town is trying to do with the town center. Obviously, this is a property it's vacant, so this is a creative reuse of the existing building, taking into account that obviously we're on 206, but also understanding, we want to make this more pedestrian friendly, and we can work with your planner and your engineer in making, more pedestrian friendly, providing sidewalks, things of that nature, to allow for people to use the urgent care as well as the coffee shop. We can work with that and try and make it more pedestrian friendly, but also, understanding it is on a highway. This is a drive-through component, which is important for this type of building, and being how small it is, it also, that's a big part of how they operate. But we can work with the landscaping. We can really clean up the architectural and kind of try to give it a nice colonial look, similar to the building that's out there. I think it has good architectural bones. And I think once you redevelop this, I think it would fit in well with the corridor.
So I think the sidewalk would be a must, for sure. There
Sure.
is a sidewalk on the adjacent properties to it. So I think that would definitely be something that we'd be looking for on this property as well. The other thing is, I think from a usability, as I mentioned earlier, Dutch Brothers, it's a very similar layout and a very similar ordering system. Because it has a limited menu, it does make things pretty expeditious. Even when there is, quote unquote, a lot of line, it moves very, very quickly and expeditiously. So I think the safety of that sidewalk would be paramount. But I also like the fact that you took into account of like a little seating area outside. That's something that like a Dutch Brothers doesn't have. I'm very old, Sam, so you won't get this reference, but there was like a photo booth back in my day where you took your actual film, and it's a little bit bigger than that kind of setup as a Dutch Brothers. Anybody who laughs is getting kicked. So this is kind of like a little bit larger of that mindset, and I think it's a great use of the building to have the urgent care on one side. Especially as a parent who's waited in urgent care a very long time, it's nice to have something right there. But just from a walkability in that section of town, as you mentioned, we do have a Taco Bell and a McDonald's right there. But this is something very niche and unique, and I think it would be a good attribute.
I have a question. Is there a restroom in that 575 square feet?
I don't think it's public, but I mean, the urgent care would have that. So, there would be, they operate similar hours. So I don't think actually most urgent cares kind of close around 5 or so. I'm not sure the hours of the ASC.
Well, does it have indoor seating for the drinks?
It doesn't.
No. So it's drive-through only?
It's drive-through, but
Walk
then it has a window.
Well, I
And
meant,
walk
but
up.
nobody can go in there and sit. I guess that's my point.
Yeah. And it has a covered area as well over the seating area.
That's why they don't have to.
Can I just ask a clarification? The part that you're partially demolishing, which
Yes.
part is that, like the overhang of the bank?
We would be demolishing the bank, but also we're shortening the building on the, I guess it's the northeast side. So, I would say we're maintaining about 50% of the existing building as far as it's more of like a rectangular, and we're cutting it in half or so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think when the full package comes in, you'll have a before and after. You'll present, where the existing is, what's coming out. They'll they'll show that on, I was thinking the same thing of where the rest of that rectangle is, but.
Absolutely.
Couple of things to consider. 206, you did say it won't always be a state highway. So it's part of the town, it's going to eventually become a township road,
Okay.
at least that portion of it. Related to that, to the west and to the east, there's two high-density housing developments going in eventually, at which we presume will also want the walkability aspect of it. So you may even think about more sidewalks, or how people from the west and east are going to be able to walk to it. So you've got some more customers coming. And so that's, I'm not helping you make your case, but just making you aware of where it's going to be, what's going to be going on around the property.
Yeah, I think we can definitely get more creative with the sidewalks and pedestrian, outdoor seating, things like that. In reading your ordinance and the master plan, I got a good feel for what you're looking for. We can talk to our client about, I know there's a few seats outside. We could maybe add some more, create like a walk, pathway to the rear.
Well, there's like this weird triangle between the blue buildings, roughly triangle.
Create like maybe a little patio area or something like that.
That would be my
Yeah.
suggestion.
Okay.
Even if it's not paved, right? Like if it's just like a little grassland with some like tables on the grass,
Yeah.
Like-
or benches and things.
something like that, yeah.
What is that leads actually into the last issue I had, which was impervious coverage. What's the impervious for this zone
I
area?
think it's 85%.
You're pretty close to that, yeah. There's a lot of pavement in here, so,
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's 85%, if I'm correct. So,
We could add more then,
yeah,
get grass.
I think we'll be well below. My guess,
Okay.
I didn't run the exact numbers, but if I were to guess, we're probably, 60 or so in that range.
Yeah.
Because, hyper aware of the use, the rear use. We want to maintain that thick vegetated buffer to the rear, and really trying to buffer this use from the single-family residential. It's going to be, more of a transition type use, and very aware of that. I know a lot of the other adjacent uses don't have that, but I think that would be beneficial to the neighbors and reduce any impacts.
Yeah.
okay.
And we'll also likely gain some green space through the stormwater management process too. Right, under current stormwater management regulations, I think we end up losing some, gaining some
Yeah.
throughout the process.
Right.
But I think you have more than enough availability of space to take away some, existing paved areas even, to make it more green.
Yeah, I think we can take a look to see if there's some areas that we can
Yeah.
make that work. Obviously, once we get a little further in design, we'll really kind of nail down, how many employees they need, how much actual parking they need. We might reduce some parking if we need to. Obviously, make sure that we meet the ordinance as much as we can, but also make it, not over park the site where we just create pavement for no reason.
Exactly.
I have a question about this business and how the cars, how the cars are like stacking here.
Sure.
So when you say, is it operating kind of like a Sonic that people are sitting there, or is it just a true drive-through?
I would say it's a true, I think it's very unique because it's not a true drive-through. It's similar, I don't know, Dutch Brothers is really the only real comparison. And I guess Chick-fil-A, where, where someone walks up to your car and takes the order with the.
Got it.
It's that kind of thing. But there's no actual drive-through. There's no menu board. There's like 2 or 3 people that are outside. They walk up and down. So they take the order towards the rear. They try and make sure there's, enough cars so that by the time you hit the window, there's no waiting. It's just, you paid already. They took your payment. You just come up to the window and boom, you have your coffee. So.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Is there any kind of coverage for the people outside taking the order? I mean, are they just standing out there with like a tablet and all weather? I mean, there's
Yeah, there's-
no cover?
There is an overhang in the front, so there is, and then obviously inside the building. But yeah, during the peak, and the thing about this type of use is it really peaks for 2 hours. Once you get past that 2-hour rush, my guess is you're not going to be.
I mean, I guess my question is, you have the cars numbered like 1 through whatever. So are they taking the order back towards where this part of the loop is? Or are they taking the order here?
No, they take the order towards, it depends on how busy it is, to be honest, from my understanding. Again, I'm not an operations
Yeah, I
person, but,
just,
so I'm reading the notes that the franchisee gave us. So they have heavy jackets that they give out to their employees. They have heaters, during inclement weather. And again, it depends on the peak. The peak isn't for very long. It's a 2-hour peak. That type of.
so they're outside
Yeah.
during the weather.
Comes with the
Yeah.
job.
Ain't no teenagers doing that.
No.
Even in Arizona, it's really cold in the morning, and they're out there.
All right. The only other question I have, and David, I mean, obviously, most of for town center, we usually encourage the building to be more closer to the highway, right, for town center, and this obviously is not. So is that a variance that they're requiring for that, or a waiver?
That would be, that would be a variance, because there's a maximum of 5 feet is how far a building can be away. And so I noted that, again, there was not a ton of detail on the plans, because it's conceptual, but that was the one that we wanted to highlight. But yes, that would be at least one bulk variance that we know of at this time.
So I don't know if you're aware of that or whatever to address.
Yeah, I mean, the existing building is located where it's
Right, you're trying to
located.
reuse the existing
And we're
building.
trying to reuse what's there, but we're mindful of that, and this is a sketch design for concept review. We're going to take all these comments back and take everything into consideration, see what we can do to, see if there's any adjustments to locations to try to be more compatible.
We hear you 100%. I mean, it sounds like, walkability is paramount here.
Yeah.
Having more crosswalks, having access from the front, having access to the rear,
Yep.
really creating that, walkability and, kids riding their bikes or whatever, and you
Yeah.
ride up on your bike and that sort of thing. So, maybe we'll do a bike rack outside, like that,
Yeah.
things like that.
And the last thing I have, I know you talked about it, the urgent care center, you said you have a potential client for that. Is that a hospital-based or a
It
private-based?
would be private, AFC,
AFC,
Good.
yeah.
okay.
I have a question also in regard to the stacking of the cars through the drive-through. And I don't know the answer to this, David, maybe you can answer it. So is that considered parking, since they are not really, it's not really a drive-through? I don't know if that's something to consider about the parking ratio or not.
It would not be considered parking. This would just be considered part of the stacking.
Okay.
So it wouldn't,
There's a lot
It
of
wouldn't
parking
factor
spaces. I
in.
just want to make sure they're not going to go over any ratio.
Yeah, so on the diagram, they'll show, how many cars can stack, but for the purpose of calculations, and certainly can defer to Aaron, we wouldn't consider that.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to be the detractor here. This is because as it was noted about moving the building closer to 206, it's a downtown. So having a drive-through, and I'm not knocking, was it Seven Brew or whatever, but I'm just questioning the location, if this is supposed to be for downtown walkability, as the chair already stated, two multi-use developments going in there, residential and all. So, and it's going to be a 25-mile-an-hour road at some point. So that's going to be my first question, is whether it really fits in this part of town. The other with the urgent care, I mean, that's only 2,200 square feet. Sounds like this might be more of just a doctor's office, because there is an empty urgent care building in the southern part of 206 that Robert Wood Johnson has abandoned. So, so I'm not sure this is, is it going to be an urgent care or more of a doctor's office, perhaps?
So it would be urgent care. I don't know if you've ever, I've been at AFC. I was just there this weekend with my kid. Actually, it was good. I went, my son had pneumonia and they caught it. So, I think we're seeing urgent cares for, for people like me, I can't bring my kids during the week a lot of times. Like, I have to go during off hours, I have to go on the weekends, so it's, I'll pay the extra $20 just so I don't have to take off work. So, it depends on what, who's operating it, that sort of thing,
Yeah, it just seems small for an urgent care,
But,
so.
I mean, they've done the market analysis, obviously we're not here to tell them where to put their business, but they're,
No, it's.
yeah, they're interested in the site as far as right now. Now, I don't think they have any concrete leases or anything like that, because I think we wanted to come here and, find out if that's worth pursuing, so.
But I guess, just kind of getting back, it just seems like, a drive-through with this amount of stacking and that, it seems a little contradictory to a downtown that we want walking, businesses you can walk to and walk
Yeah.
up. This doesn't have really a window you're supposed to be driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you 100%. This isn't, when you read the master plan, this isn't exactly what it envisions, but the reality of it is that it's kind of meeting in the middle, right? It's utilizing an existing building that's vacant right now. It's, making sure, we'll make sure and we'll take steps to make sure it is walkable and provide more crosswalks and, provide outdoor seating, provide bench, those sort of thing. And then also obviously provide, an aesthetically looking building to make sure it fits in well, maybe make it more residential feeling. So I understand what you're saying. If you read the hard letter of the law, it doesn't fit exactly, but we also can take steps that allow the both to exist and make it as pedestrian friendly as possible.
I also think that we do need another urgent care. As he mentioned, the urgent care south of that is empty. And the other one that's in town, the only other one in town, is constantly backed up.
Yeah.
So this would be welcome, especially with apartments and multi-unit dwellings on either side of it.
Right.
It would be appreciated.
Great.
Have you also looked at any cross-access easement with neighboring properties?
We have not gotten that far. I'd have to talk to my client about that as far as how that would work.
Yeah, I understand the circulation may not, warrant it, but it's something maybe to just look at the neighboring properties to see if there is a.
Can they help? I don't know how it works. I mean, I would defer more to the planner. Do they all, that strip, like our adjacent properties? I'm assuming they could go to Town Center Drive and then access, or is maybe the property to the north doesn't have access back? I can't tell because.
Yeah, maybe as long as that
Yeah.
driveway does get cut into Town Center Drive,
Yeah.
then, that'll take care
Oh,
of that.
great, the connectivity, yeah. I just don't know if the one to the northeast has, it looks like it does, but
Yeah, it looks like Town Center also has a sidewalk on it, in which case there will be access to one of the neighboring developments and the sidewalk connectivity to that. So going out that back side, you might want to also lay out some sidewalk on your plan.
absolutely. Yeah, when I put this together, it was before I really dug into the planning, to be completely honest. Now that I read the planning, we obviously can make some changes and adjustments, so.
If I may just add to that, many times there are no existing service roads in these type of scenarios. This is a situation in which there is. Town Center Drive was put in prior to the Town Center concept district, being put in place. But since then, through the master plan, through the circulation plan, Town Center Drive is envisioned as basically a service road as it exists right now, and also for it to continue all the way down potentially to Amwell. And so that's where,
We talked
Right.
about that the other day.
right, and through those, some of the developments that you referred to before, they would be contemplating Town Center Drive to be, right,
Yeah.
to be coming through.
Anything else? Anybody have any other thoughts, or? Yeah, so, like I said, we don't really have any action to take as a planning board, but you've heard.
No, it's great
We've
feedback.
given you the
Appreciate
planning board light treatment, I think.
Yeah.
But,
No, it's always good to hear these comments especially before we hardline anything, now we can obviously come back with something more creative and something that, is more in line with what the board is and the town is feeling.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add something that goes a little bit more beyond than what I had included into my report, especially as I've heard some of the testimony, and just something that I think would be beneficial for the applicant to consider, especially when they go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, as they have to make their case and as they have to meet the criteria of a D1 variance. I think it's important. I think what you're describing to some degree, and again, this is in my own words, is that you're describing that the 7 brew configuration is kind of like a transitional use, in that it's not a huge investment in terms of like a big development getting placed, whereas you would envision in the future, it would never really be practical to ever to replace that in the near future. But through land use, there are certain types of uses like self-storage facilities that are, one level. There are sometimes smaller or any drive-throughs are kind of seen as, if the market changes or if things change, that's potentially development that could be replaced, and whatever the next thing is to potentially replace it. I think you already hit the part, especially as you're trying to take advantage of an existing building that is there, and you're trying to do something else to also make the property to be able to go forward and not be a vacant property. So I think it's important to look at it potentially as like, this is a transitional use to try to meet in the middle, similar to what your testimony is. But I think the big thing that when you go to the Board of Adjustment that they're going to be looking at is this a detriment to the master plan and zone plan? And that's going to be something they're going to be very focused on, and whoever is going to be your planner is going to have to provide that testimony and address all of that criteria, the negative criteria. So just wanted to add that. I think it's a benefit for the applicant just to kind of be aware of that and to decide what they want to do. Do you have anything?
I would agree with that.
Thank you for that, Mr. Coyce.
All right, is there any final thoughts? Not, I'll thank you for bringing this to our attention and taking what you can from our advice and experience, and appreciate you looking to develop this site and bring something a little different.
Yep, we thank you for your time tonight and for the feedback that you've been able to give us. We recognize we have to go to the other board, but your feedback is very, very helpful. Regardless of what board you're before here, all of your boards are knowledgeable individuals, residents, employees, officials of the municipality. Everybody's been here for a while, sophisticated. I go to a lot of boards. I enjoy coming up here, even though it's a long ride for me. But I do enjoy coming to either one of your boards because you do have your finger on the pulse of really what you're looking for here, so your feedback's very valuable to us, and we thank you for your time. Even though you don't get to vote on anything tonight, or maybe not at all in this application, we do thank you for the feedback you've been able to provide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before we adjourn, our next meeting is February 12th. Is there anything on the agenda?
There is nothing on the agenda. We would recommend canceling it.
I'll make a motion to cancel.
Can I get a second? Second. Do we need a roll call for that one? All in favor?
Wait, hold on.
Hold on. Well, I was going to do them one at a time.
Just like old times. Well, our plan is to have a master plan subcommittee meeting, so those members that are on it, in place of the February 26th business meeting. Our plan is to have the master, no?
So,
I'm going to defer to the master plan.
We'll caucus.
To be, okay, so, all right, audibles, that's fine.
Mr. Sirachi, would you like to amend your motion
I
to
will
cancel
amend my
both?
motion to also cancel the business meeting.
Okay.
We need a second.
All right, second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Huzzah.
See
All
you in
right.
March.
See you on March 5th, the next regular meeting. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
You can do them all. Do them all.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You- 1 minute over.